All right, y'all, so I'm gonna show you how to make salmon croquettes really quick. I've got my red salmon. I'm gonna be using 2 cans of red salmon, and these are 14.75 ounces of red salmon. When you make salmon croquettes, you wanna make sure you get the best canned salmon that you can afford to get. The better the quality, the better your salmon croquettes will turn out. All right, y'all, so you want to get a bowl that's big enough for both cans of salmon. You're going to pour the entire can and all of the contents into this bowl, okay? And then you're going to want to use a fork, and you're going to want to get the bones and the skin and everything off the salmon, okay? So you're just going to scrape and get it all off. And if you have a pet, like I have a dog, so the skin and the bone is so soft. Here, I'll show you. You can just like crumble it. You see that? So I'll put it in his dog food. And the broth from the canned salmon helps your salmon croquettes to stay moist, okay? And actually gives flavor as well. And you can also dice up onion and bell pepper if you would like to add to your salmon croquettes. That's how my mom would make her salmon croquettes, and I think my dad would make them that way too. I don't remember, but I distinctly remember her adding diced onion and bell pepper to her salmon croquettes. I don't do that. I just don't do it. So, but you can. Okay, so there's some bone there. And another thing, when you make salmon as well, my dad, I'll have to maybe do a video on that, but he makes scrambled salmon, and I'll probably do a video and show y'all how he does it. He will leave the bones and everything in his, because they're so soft you can eat them. I tend to take them out, but I'll show you all what he does. If I end up doing a scrambled salmon video, which I don't care for scrambled salmon, but he does make it and he leaves the bones in. So, but like I said, if you're not a person that likes the bones left in your salmon croquettes or scrambled salmon, and if you have a dog, you can just give it to your dog, because my dog loves it. All right, and I think we've got all the bones out of this one. Well, here's some more. Okay, and then you're just gonna do the same process with your other can of salmon as well. Okay, so I've got both cans in here, and this is about how much you should have of skin and bones, for, in your trash can, okay? And then, but of course it is gonna differ, because sometimes you have more bones in one can and more skin. It just kind of differs from can to can, but that's about how much that I have left, okay? Or that I've gotten out of this bowl, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and mash this up together. And like I said, at this point, once you get this mashed together, you can add your diced onions, diced bell pepper, if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do diced onion and diced bell pepper, but you do want the onion taste, get you some onion powder and put in here, okay? I've had it all sorts of ways, and this method that I do is it just tastes good to me. It's better, it's simple, doesn't take a whole lot, and sometimes you may have children that don't like diced onion and bell pepper. You may have older relatives that, get indigestion and all that kind of stuff. And so they don't want all that diced vegetables. And so they just can't process it or what have you. So I just have a tendency to just not add all of that. Not that it's not good. It is good. I was raised on it that way. But I just prefer it this way. Okay. So to this, we're going to add some Tonys, some Tony Chacheres. And you'll find sometimes that, all these spices and, I don't know, weeds and all, it's not necessary. Stuff can taste so good with, with just some salt and pepper. It's, sorry, when you use Tony's, honey, it goes in your nose, you start coughing. Okay, and so I don't know how much Tony's I use. I use a lot for my salmon croquettes, so I just eyeball it. You have to determine, how much you want to use. I would say that was probably about 2 tablespoons maybe for 2 cans. I normally will make 1 can of salmon, and so I won't use that much Tony's, but because I've got 2, then okay. And then to this, you're going to add 2 eggs. They don't have to be room temperature. It's fine for them to be cold. I may add a little bit more Tony's. Hold on. So you're going to have put one, I'm sorry, because there's 2 cans of salmon, I'm doing 2 eggs. If it was 1 can of salmon, then I will be doing 1 egg, okay? And I'm gonna grab those eggs, and then you also wanna get your cast iron skillet out of wherever it is, put it on the stove, add your grease, and go ahead and turn your skillet on because we're almost done here. All right, so we've got 2 eggs here. I'm gonna go ahead and add those. And this is just gonna act as a binder for your salmon to hold it together. So you're gonna mix that in. And just make sure it kind of gets around to all parts of your salmon, your canned salmon, okay? And you wanna make sure you've got that egg completely combined because you don't want portions of your egg to come out like a scrambled egg hanging off the side of your salmon croquette patty, okay? So just make sure you got it all combined together. Okay, and then to this, we're gonna add some white cornmeal. This is the one that I'm gonna be using, the pearl milling white cornmeal. I will tell you, I have had salmon croquettes made with flour. I've had them with yellow meal, and I've had them with white, and I prefer to use the white cornmeal because it's a perfect mix of flour, and meaning the texture of flour and the texture of cornmeal all in one. So that's why I prefer to use white cornmeal for my salmon croquettes instead of yellow or just flour. My mom makes hers with flour, all-purpose flour, and my dad, he uses white meal, but that's all he keeps in his house is yellow meal. So, but I buy both yellow and white, and I'll do my salmon croquettes I prefer in white cornmeal, okay? And this is going to give us our crisp on the outside of the salmon croquette. It's going to act as our breading for the salmon croquette. And you just want to eyeball your the amount of meal that you're going to use, because if you use flour, it's going to be different. If you use yellow meal, it's going to be a different amount of cornmeal that you're going to use. But when I use white cornmeal, you just want to be able to make sure that you can see your meal in there. You don't want it to be dried out. That's why I said to pour the entire contents of your can with the liquid and everything in order to keep your salmon croquettes pretty moist, because if you add too much flour, too much meal and all that, then it will dry out your salmon croquette. It will not be moist at all. But you don't want to add too little, and you don't want to add too much. I'm going to add just a little bit more because I'm using 2 cans. You do not want your salmon croquettes to be dry. There's nothing worse. Make sure you don't put too much meal, flour, or whatever in your salmon croquettes, okay? Because they were like dry, falling apart. They just weren't good at all. So, and we all have those moments. None of us are perfect. We're human, we are flawed, and we are gonna make mistakes. We're gonna, so just give yourself grace, be patient with yourself. And every day when you get up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, I love you. And I'm not talking about in an arrogant way or a self-absorbed way. I'm talking about like a really, I love you, like looking at yourself in the mirror and really falling in love with you as a person, flaws and all, not arrogant, not self-inflated, not self-absorbed, like, myself. I'm talking about the real, genuine, heartfelt love where you look inside yourself and you see everything that you have done that maybe you regret, which I live with no regrets, but, that maybe people shamed you about or whatever. And you look at those things that you maybe did someone wrong, or you hurt someone or whatever, and you look at those spaces, you make amends about those things, but when you stand in that mirror and say that I love you, you think of all of those things and the wonderful things about yourself as well, and say I love you to all of that. You've got to just love yourself and know that no one is perfect. No one, but you are perfectly imperfect. You are perfect. You are coded, and you are you. There's not another one of you. There's no one else that walks this earth that is you. So you've got to love yourself. Love all of yourself. Anyway, don't get me started, because I'll be telling my girls this too. No one is coded and has the DNA. No one is living at the same exact time as we are, whatever. We are all meant to be here for a reason. And we are all, you know, if you were taken away, there wouldn't be another one of you. Nothing will be the same if you no longer exist. People say, oh yeah, we'll go on. Now that you will, but still you're an intricate part to what's going on in the world around you and in the larger scope of things. And people may say, no, I'm not. I'm not that important. Yes, you are. You're an intricate part to it all. That's why you're breathing. You're an intricate part to everything. Anyway, okay, so I've got my grease on the stove. I've got my skillet on the stove. I'm using Crisco shortening. And so we're ready to take this on over to get ready to fry. Okay, y'all, so you're gonna wanna have your skillet on a high heat, like medium high. Okay, and then all you're gonna do is pat these out into whatever shape you like. Mine are always round, and I'm not trying to make anybody do it my way or what have you, but they're just about that size. And I tend to make them small. You can make them bigger than that if you want to. And I tend to make mine small because I have kids, so you can always make them bigger than this. But that's about the thickness right there. And I'm just using a fork to scoop it out of the bowl. You can use a spoon if you want to. If you see like any cracks, you can go ahead and, because it'll fall apart in the grease. So try to make sure you don't see a whole lot of cracks. And you'll see a couple of mine. I can already tell that they're, like I left some cracks in a couple of them, and I can tell that they're kind of splitting apart a little bit. So you just want to make sure you don't have any of that. I wasn't paying attention. And this is salmon, so it is going to have your house smelling, you know, like with a fishy smell. So just make sure you know, the same way if you fry catfish in your house or what have you, then your salmon croquettes are going to have your house smelling like that too. So if you don't like that smell or sensitive or what have you, then you may want to fry it. You know, you may want to fry outside if you can, or you know, I use a odor neutralizer in my house, but let me scoop this over. And you don't want to crowd your salmon croquettes either, okay? All right, that's about as much as I'm going to put in here now. And this is about as much, I have that much left. Y'all can see that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and flip a few of these so you can see what it looks like. That's dark. And that's light. Okay, so it just depends on how you like them. So, but the browner they are, then the harder your cornmeal is going to be. The outside is going to be a little bit more crispy, you know, when it's a little bit brown, more brown. Okay, and it's going to be a little softer if it's a little bit more light brown. Okay, y'all, so I'm going to go ahead and fork so y'all can see me fork a few of these and take them out. Okay, so you see how smooth your fork goes in? See? Now this is one that's not real brown, so it's gonna, the fork will go in more smoothly. If it was crispy on the, let me turn this one and show you. See how this one's more crispy, more dark? So I'm gonna give it just a second and then I'll fork it and show you. It shouldn't take a lot of effort to fork your salmon croquettes and get them out of the grease. But you are gonna feel the outside of it. It's gonna be hard. You know, it's gonna have a nice crunch on the outside. But if they're lighter, then the forking is gonna be a little bit more difficult because the outside is not as dark, not as crunchy, crispy, okay? So I'm gonna taste the salmon croquette on camera. I gotta go get my dog from daycare. Gotta go get my dog from daycare. So let me taste it real quick. Y'all, this is so good. And like I said, for people that like mackerel, it'll put you in the mind of mackerel, just better, just way a step above. But like I said, I don't put any kind of onions or bell peppers in mine or anything like that. got the perfect amount of heat, meaning spice. And it's good. It's perfect with spinach. Oh my God. I make this spicy spinach. It's so good. If you like spicy. Spinach, you can make a salad. You can do macaroni and cheese. You can do yellow rice. Spicy yellow rice is good. You can do just plain white rice. That's how my dad eats his. It's just good with a whole lot of different things with that spicy spinach. Oh my God. And the yellow rice, oh, it's excellent. Anyway, okay guys, so I just wanted to show y'all how to make salmon croquettes. I'll see y'all next time at 234 in La Casa. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See y'all later.